What's good, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. Double A Hef here. Unfortunately, I have another video that I'm going to put under the "What is Accountability" series. As many of you know, a young, quote unquote, black brother was shot and killed in Minnesota on Sunday. Mr. Daunte Wright. For those of you who already know about this, I'm gonna obviously be going over some of the details, and for those of you who don't know about it, I'm going to be going over the details. There is another video that I might pull up alongside this one, of where you can actually see the shooting happen and everything like that. Now, I just want to say that the series, What is Accountability, is very important because my goal is for it to recalibrate us, to help us understand that everything that we do has consequence tied to it. Not, and I don't mean that always in like a negative, like a connotation consequence. It could be a positive consequence. You know, what I'm saying is everything that you do has something tied to it. You know, and you are in control. You get what you deserve in life. It's that simple, you know. So we have to conduct ourselves in a way fitting of responsible adults and children, because Daunte Wright, yeah, I believe he was 20, might have been 21. I'm sure he's 20, but he's young. He's very young. He's still like a child in my eyes. He's a kid. You know, he didn't know much. Just starting out. So again, it's very unfortunate what happened to him. But since that has happened, obviously, there's been many quote unquote protests, more like riots going on in Minnesota. Um, and this is all following the untimely death of this young man. Now, it's not when I see these protests or riots, it angers me because they're these quote unquote black people are being pawned, being pimped by Black Lives Matter movement, by Marxist agendas. They're being used to cause chaos and destruction because none of that stuff is going to, one, bring Mr. Dorian Wright back or Breonna Taylor back or George Floyd back. They're not going to stop police quote unquote killings. For instance, in this killing, in my opinion, and now I could be wrong, but from watching the video several times, I don't think that woman officer meant to kill him. Especially considering the fact that she only shot him once. Now if she shot his ass up, then that's a different story. But she shot him up, and she seemed to be genuinely surprised that she shot him with the pistol. So, I mean, we have to understand something. There's human error, that's just a part of life. And I've never been one for these protests because, like I said, they lead nowhere. They lead absolutely nowhere. All you do is go out there and make a fool of yourself. Destroy relationships between the police force and the local residents. It builds tension. I really see nothing good that comes from protests. It's a waste of time. I would never go out and protest in any of this stuff. Regardless of Black Lives Matter or not, because obviously, you all know that they're a Marxist fucking movement in the front, Let's say they weren't. Just say that they weren't. I still wouldn't go out there because it's pointless. Like, for instance, last year when the Milwaukee Bucks boycotted their game, I think I made a video about that too, or maybe I told about it on my podcast. I don't know. I did something about that. But either way, that was still pointless. You're gonna boycott it, but it's never gonna end. Police are gonna kill people. Whether it's just or unjust, they're gonna kill people. That's just what's going to happen. Like I said, it's human error. Okay, so unless you plan on boycotting a basketball game or a sporting event every time that happens, or protesting and destroying police cars every time that happens, and even if that is what you plan on doing, I still don't see the good in that. You know, it's like a child throwing a tantrum in their room because they're on punishment. You destroy your room, that's fine, but you're gonna have to clean it up anyway. Because again, everything that you do is tied to something. There's consequences, man. There's consequences. I'm gonna play this video, and actually, after thinking about it, I am gonna pull up the other video to show you actually what happened, just in case y'all didn't see it.
The streets of suburban Minneapolis yesterday after a police officer shot and killed 20-year-old Daunte Wright during a traffic stop. Protesters gathered at the scene, eventually marching to the Brooklyn Center Police Department headquarters. Police there used flashbang grenades to clear the crowds, and the city's mayor imposed an overnight curfew. Tensions are already high in the city, where the trial of former police officer Derek Chauvin, charged in the death of George Floyd, enters its third week. ABC's Alex Perez has the latest on the investigation.
I could have did a part about what is accountability on George Floyd as well, but I didn't. I really didn't feel like doing it. But since they brought it up and they're showing this photo, accountability is obviously it's a you thing. It starts with you. You need to hold yourself accountable, because if not, you're gonna be subjecting yourself to other people holding you accountable. George Floyd, he wasn't holding himself accountable because he was using counterfeit money. Regardless of whether he's a drug addict or alcoholic or not, he's using counterfeit money. So he brought that on himself. If you're doing something illegal and then the cops come, you brought that on yourself. Period. Whether it's like super illegal, like you're smuggling freaking, or like you're drug trafficking or human trafficking, or if it's like small illegal, like, you're selling nickel and dime bags. Regardless of whatever it is, as long as it's illegal, you're exposing yourself to the police. And then once you do that, depending on how you act or react, could dictate whether you're alive or not. Now, am I sitting here saying that George Floyd should have been killed for doing what he did? That Daunte Wright should have been killed for doing what he did? That Eric Garner should have been killed for doing what he did? No, I'm not saying that they should have been killed. But what I'm saying is, they should not have put themselves in a position where they were face to face with their death bringer. It's that simple. You don't have to worry about that if you go to the root. How many of y'all out there that listen to this channel find yourself in altercations with the police often? And if you do, then ask yourself, then what are you doing? Are you wrong, or in any of this? Are you hanging with the wrong crowd in any of this? Huh? Are you doing something that you shouldn't be doing? Because I'm inclined to believe that the answer to that would be yes.
Oh my God!
Overnight, protests erupted in Brooklyn Center, a suburb of Minneapolis, after a fatal police shooting of a black man during a traffic stop. The Minnesota National Guard deployed.
Dontae Wright! Dontae Wright!
Police.
See, all that for what? All that for what? It doesn't make any sense. It's because they're out there to bring chaos and disorder. Because at the end of the day, Daunte Wright I'm not gonna say he deserved to die. I don't know him. But I will say he didn't deserve to die or by the cops in that altercation. You know what I'm saying? But overall, to say he deserved to die, I don't know the man. I don't know what he was doing, but he had choices. We all have choices, and we need to hold ourselves accountable to make the right decisions when it comes to our choices. And when we make the wrong decisions, we need to be man enough to stand by it and then deal with the consequences when they come. Like, for instance, if you have a young child, if you have a young boy, a son, and your son steals from a store, right? And you find out, and then you don't do nothing about it. You're just like, oh, whatever. Like you're not helping your son. But now, if you take your son back to that store and show him that, hey, there's consequences for that, and you're gonna meet your maker. I'm gonna bring you back to that store. You're gonna face this as a man. That was wrong, and you're gonna face this. Now you're teaching your son to be accountable. So now your son would have learned a valuable lesson that everything that I do has something to it, tied to it, and I need to hold myself accountable to it, and stand and face it.
Deploying tear gas to clear the crowds.
Oh! More flashbang grenades.
The incident beginning just before 2 p.m. on Sunday when officers pulled a car over for a traffic violation. According to the Brooklyn Center Police Department, the driver, who had an outstanding warrant, tried to get back in the vehicle while
So, see that? He had a warrant. I don't know what the warrant was for. Am I saying that because you have a warrant you should be killed by the cops? No. But do I believe that Mr. Wright knew he had a warrant? Yes. Obviously. He tried to get back in the car. So I'm sure that he knew that he had a warrant. But this is my thing. If you're not holding yourself accountable, if you're not holding yourself accountable, you put yourself in situations like this. You got warrants, and supposedly also what I heard from different report was that the car was it had bad tags. The tags were outdated or something like that. But either way, you had a warrant. So you brought it upon yourself. You didn't handle your responsibilities. You didn't hold yourself accountable. You didn't go and pay whatever fines you had to do, or you didn't, do whatever time you may have had to do. And now because of all of that, your life is lost. And again, this isn't to justify him being killed by the police officer. What this is to do is to, again, instill accountability in my people. You have to understand something. You don't just get to live cavalier and do what the fuck you want, whenever the fuck you want, without any consequences. There's consequences to everything that you do. And unfortunately, his consequences to what he did and what he did not do cost him his life. It cost him his life. And the intriguing part about this is every time I see these protests and stuff like that, especially in situations like this where, Mr. Wright had control over his life up until the very end, is that I highly doubt any of those people out these protests or at the protest for George Floyd or at the protest for Eric Garner, I highly doubt that any of those, if their parents would tell their kids to do the same thing that any one of those guys that got killed did. I highly doubt that. And if they would do that, then they're terrible parents. And they don't know nothing.
Officers were making an arrest. An officer then shot the driver, the car driving for several blocks before crashing into another vehicle. Police say paramedics attempted life-saving measures, but the driver was pronounced dead at the scene. Governor Tim Walz tweeting, "Our state mourns another life of a black man taken by law enforcement." Tensions very quickly rising before night.
Look at this. Out here protesting, standing on police cars. For what? You got no end game. You got no real solutions. You got no thoughts. You're a bunch of fucking idiots, man. A bunch of idiots. A bunch of idiots. And again, the kid controlled his life all the way up until the end. Now, again, I'm not saying that he should have died for what he did. What I'm saying is he died for what he did. And those were all his decisions to get him to that spot. So he is held accountable and ultimately responsible for what happened to him. Now, obviously, the police officer, maybe she might be fired, go to trial, whatever the case may be. That's going to happen, Hopefully, there will be justice in that, and due process. But when it comes to all the outrage about this guy being killed, it's not like, he was just walking down the street and the cops came up on him and just blasted this motherfucker. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's not what happened.
Fall protesters carrying Black Lives Matter signs seen here clashing with police. Protesters also seen jumping on cars, even using cinder blocks to smash windows on a police vehicle. Katie Wright, the mother of the driver who was shot, identified her son as 20-year-old Daunte Wright. His family telling ABC News that he was a good kid and loved being a father to his son Dontae Jr., seen in this photo being held by Wright's brother at the protest.
He called me at about 1:40.
And like I said, it's very unfortunate and it's a shame. But ultimately, he's responsible for his actions. We all are responsible for our actions.
Said he was getting pulled over by the police. And I said, well, why did you get pulled over? He said they pulled him over because he had air fresheners hanging from the rearview mirror. I don't want everybody out here chanting and screaming and yelling. I just want him home.
Of course not. Of course you don't want that. Of course not. But the crowd doesn't give a fuck about what you want. The crowd wants to just bring chaos and anarchy. That's why they're there. They don't give a fuck about what you want. They don't give a fuck if he was a good guy or a bad guy. They don't give a fuck about none of that. So if you find yourself out there in these protests because you think that you're doing something right, listen, man, you're not. Because you got to ask yourself, what the fuck is this accomplishing? What's the end goal? What's the end game? What vehicle am I in right now? And I don't mean like a real vehicle. I mean, like metaphorical vehicle. Who's steering the vehicle that you're in? Who are you the foot soldier for? Huh? And what's their ultimate agenda? If you're not asking these questions and you don't know the answers to these questions, and or if you don't have solutions, then step aside and sit the fuck down before you fuck around and get fucked up at one of these protests or riots.
That's it.
And let's bring in ABC's Alex Perez, who's live in Minneapolis.
Now I'm going to bring up the video of the incident. The video of the incident.
Protests on the streets of suburban Minneapolis yesterday after a police officer shot and killed 20-year-old Daunte Wright during a traffic stop. Protesters gathered at the scene, eventually already hiding the city. Oh, my God.
Oh, wait, this is the same video I just put on.
The Minnesota National Guard deployed.
Hold on. This is the one. Sorry.
People are very angry. They don't understand his excuse about how...
and inflaming tensions. Minneapolis, of course, was already on edge as the nation watches the murder trial of Derek Chauvin. The police chief in Brooklyn Center, that's the suburb outside the city, says cops pulled over 20-year-old Dontae Wright for expired tags and tried to arrest him for an outstanding warrant.
So again, expired tags and a warrant, outstanding warrant. I can't keep saying the same shit, It's actually getting frustrating. It's like living in a fucking Twilight Zone where it's like, if I get in a car with expired tags and I get pulled over, I understand that. I got in this car. I understand that that's a risk. So when I get pulled over, hey officer, how's it going? Yada yada. Here's my registration, yada yada yada, boom boom. hey, do you know that your tags are expired? Oh yeah, actually, I do, but if you could be honest or you can make up a lie. I recommend just being honest. I just haven't gotten around to it yet. Yada yada yada. You never know. The cop might be like, all right, well, give you a warning now, or take care of it. Or I'm sorry, but we're gonna have to tow the car. Whatever the case may be, you just comply because you are in the wrong. You're already in the wrong, so you comply, and then you get to live and fight another day. But if you're gonna be in, like, for instance, in sports, like pickup games and basketball courts, right? If you foul somebody, right, and you fouled the motherfucker, so you're in the wrong. If that person calls foul, you're not gonna act all crazy. You're gonna be like, yeah, I fouled him. You know what I'm saying, right? Because you did. You were in the wrong. You're not even gonna fight it. I fouled him. You own it. If you're riding around in tags that are expired, you got to own it. Own it.
There was a struggle. The police chief says one of the officers pulled out her gun by mistake, thinking it was her taser, and fired. Today, the police chief released body cam video of the shooting, and a warning now. The video is hard to watch. We're going to play it, but we pause that video at the moment of the fatal gunshot.
So that's when she shot him. But obviously, look, expired tags, outstanding warrant. The cops are arresting you. You resist arrest and try to get in the car and flee. Now, again, I'm not going to sit here and say that the person should be killed over that. But you made your bed, man. It's unfortunate that obviously you didn't know enough. You weren't taught enough to value your life. It's very unfortunate, man. But what's even more unfortunate is we got a whole bunch of fucking idiots out here, the real coons out here protesting and marching, and it's not going to bring shit. It's not going to bring shit. It might even bring them their untimely demise. It's sad. It's sad that I have to make videos like this. It's sad that I have to make videos about what is accountability, and I'm getting fresh content. The part 1 and part 2 was about Eric Garner years ago. I could have did George Floyd, but obviously George Floyd was a drug addict and had a very hard in life, and that one's pretty simple. And not for nothing, the way George Floyd died, he didn't deserve that either. Well, again, I'm not gonna sit here and say what the fuck he deserved. You get what you deserve, so I'm not gonna say he didn't deserve it. Who knows? You get what you deserve. But again, it's just super unfortunate. It's unfortunate that our people see something like this happen, but then they just want to run straight to that's racism. That's racism. Don't get me wrong. Racism, like I stated many times, we got to stop using that word. What it is the power structure. We don't have any power. And it's not racism or racial acts. It's power being exerted against you. That's what it is. People that have power get to use power. And people that don't. But our people love that word racism, trigger words. And they just want to, equate everything that happens and goes on in their life to quote-unquote white society. And you're setting yourself up for failure like that. If anyone that's watching this video that is upset about it, because I know there's going to be people that aren't going to quote unquote agree, which is interesting because I like to approach topics from a standpoint where it's not even so much about agree or disagree, because it's pretty black and white about facts, but obviously, like in the part 1 and 2 of what is accountability, you had those two knuckleheads trying to disagree. People like to make excuses in our community instead of owning up to their own actions and the actions of others. Look, man, I'll play this video again. and then I'm gonna end it because it's pretty straightforward. Look at this. They got you right here. The one cop's trying to transfer your arm to this cop so that he can put the handcuffs on you, and then you try to slip into the car. These are cops. They got guns. You're fighting with the cops. So in the other video, it actually shows him, like, she shoots him one time and then he drives off. But that's it. It's not much to keep on saying about this. It's about accountability. So for all the parents out there, what does accountability mean to you? To all the parents out there, what does accountability mean to you? Does it mean enough for you to teach your kids the right way? Huh? Young black men out there, what does accountability mean to you? Do you know what it means? Obviously, the difference between knowing and not knowing what accountability is can be life or death. So, I hope y'all digest this message and get it, because we have to do better. We just simply got to do better, man. And for all y'all wokey woke coon ass niggas that are probably going to be all up in my comments, ask yourself, would you advise your family, your kids to do what this kid did? Because if the answer is yes, then by all means continue with your cooning. But if the answer is no, then don't be disingenuous to yourself. And then make the change that needs to be made before you come on my fucking comments with some bullshit, man. Because again, everything that we do is tied to a consequence. And in life, you get what you deserve.